Kacey Musgraves is officially back with her 5th album, Deeper Well. I made a video essay celebrating her iconic masterpiece, Golden Hour, which made her a household name, so I had to cover this calm, sleepy record. You know the drill. Deeper Well follows Star-Crossed, a record that saw Musgraves lean into the pop direction, so much so that the Grammy Nominations Committee considered the record a pop album when it was submitted. Star-Crossed was an ambitious Shakespearean lamentation about her marriage, which Golden Hour had been based about, dissolving, which even had its own Lemonade-esque movie on Paramount+. Across the board, Star-Crossed ended up being more or less a disappointment when compared to Golden Hour, both critically and commercially. Some call it a downgrade. I viewed it more as a sidestep, rather than an outright tanking or a career step-up. In 2023, Musgraves would return on Zach Bryan's I Remember Everything, which debuted at number 1, earning Musgraves her first chart topper and another Grammy. This time for Best Country Duo Performance, Musgraves would announce Deeper Well that same night. Musgraves is an unpredictable artist. She could have very easily made a trendy, folksy, stompy record like her recent collaborators Noah Kahan or Zach Bryan. With Beyonce and Lana Del Rey encroaching country, she could have returned to her deeper yeehaw roots, or doubled down on pop. Instead, Deeper Well is a breezy, stripped-down meditation about her mid-30s, small pleasures, and new-agey mysticism. This is the 3rd album produced by Musgraves, Toshian, and Fitchuk, who did Golden Hour and Star-Crossed together. It's an immaculate, cohesive retreat to nature and NUI. Aside from a few sparse moments, this is a very earthy and grounded record. Synths occasionally punctuate songs, but there's a very organic feel to this record. At times, she channels Laurel Canyon folk, and at other times, she channels classic Americana. Musgraves threads a very tough needle of sounding cohesive while also having a good variety of melodies. Those looking for something poppy and dynamic will probably be the most disappointed. The album rarely takes left turns aside from some of my favorites like Sway and Anime Eyes. Still, the album itself is a twist in that it's a very straightforward, earnest, unassuming record. Kacey doesn't abandon her usual themes about love, gained, or lost. Instead, she fixates on the complex questions of life and finds the answers in nature and small living. If you loved Mother from Golden Hour, this is the album for you. It's contemplative, pensive, and yearning. I've seen a few people lament the lack of Musgraves' sharp, shady songwriting, but the same observational cleverness is converted into an encompassing gratitude. The storytelling in each song, where they all feel like book chapters, is a deft touch. Deeper Well is a very poetic but sparse record that feels like a reset or a rest that I'm sure will build towards some other surprising turn in her career. Personally, with my own chaotic life, I really needed this record. It felt like a palate cleanser, a soul cleanse that made me contemplate the smaller joys of life, from small nature walks to dinners with friends to falling in love with a stranger. Lives are imperfect, but they are worth living. The record opens with Cardinal, a 70s Laurel Canyon throwback that has some fun, witchy vibes to it. It's Fleetwood Mac by way of Musgraves. She opens the track wondering if she's seen an omen or a blessing after a friend of hers had passed. On the chorus, she asks if the cardinal that she sees is a message from the other side. It's a common mythological phenomenon that birds carry messages. I think that the bridge is hypnotic and that she asks the bird if it's a coincidence or magic itself. The instrumentation on this one is somehow serene but anxious, so I think it's a wonderful way to open the record in that it opens with a question to nature that is answered by the end. The title track has been an obsession of mine. It's a meditative diary entry about her past, how Saturn return has given her a marriage that ended right as it ended. She sets up this allegorical idea of givers and takers that's talked about on the record. I adore the way each verse touches on different things that she's left behind. The first few are about people with dark energy that she can't unsee, while the last few are about her own bad habits and actions like waking and baking. The chorus is very modular yet rooted in a stable melody. The craft needs to be admired. It ends on this very gorgeous note that the world is bigger, and the deeper well that she's found is that world. Too Good to Be True interpolate Anaylsis' iconic 2 a.m. breathe in the verses. The song's a snapshot into her life with a lover. He stuck around for more than a season, but she still has her doubts that this is too good to be true. It carries themes of happy and sad, but to a more specific space and time. There's a delicate nature to this track, from the way the instrumentation works to how it it doesn't quite swing to a conclusion. I felt like the bridge of simple vocalizations before she ends with the opening lines, "Please don't wake me," was pretty neat. She does come to terms that if it ends, it does end. Moving Out hooked me from the start because it feels like journeying music. She tells the story about memories of this place that she's shared with someone. The pre-chorus outlines the tree that nearly crushed her man's car and planting roses, but autumn's here. The specific details about the cursed dress and the fights make this feel so personal. The way that it ends with the instrumental does lend a sense that the journey doesn't end, she's just gonna keep moving on. Give or Take Her is my personal favorite off the record. It's such a standout. I think it's a powerful little song that hews closest to Golden Hour's ingenious simplicity. The duality of the track works very well, with the first verse opening on her feeling alone in this home, trying to figure out how to give and take. The chorus is heartbreaking because she wants to give this person everything she has and ask for nothing in return, but if she could take from them, she'd need everything. I think the honesty that she wants to be the one to take is a rare thing that very few people actually admit in their own relationships. In the world of country music, we often hear horror stories about giving everything you have only to get nothing back in return, but never really the need to take as a lover, so it's treated as a sin to even imply that you are a taker in a relationship. It's treated like a sin, but here she wants balance. Sway is another highlight off the record. This one's a more production-heavy song that really goes back to Musgraves' playfulness between her vocals, instrumental work, and lyrics. This song speaks to the uncontrollable nature of life. I felt like the opening lines reminded me of the turbulence off of the song Rainbow. Musgraves' earlier works tend to speak to her need to be in control of things, so the song is like a meta look into her desire to learn how to sway but not break apart in the wind. Towards the end of the song, it sways away from structure, instead letting us feel the winds that she's actually singing about through synths and strings. The final section is her letting go for once, and it's a gorgeous reprieve. The next three tracks are gorgeous, but I felt really were underdeveloped. Dinner with Friends is a neat listing of smaller joys in her life. She lists the small luxuries that she can afford, even down to catching a sunrise through luck. She shouts out Texas and its skies, but shades their laws, reminding us that she's still got a little bit of bite, before she shifts into the chorus about her man with a sweeping little romantic flair to it. There's a wistfulness to it, as if she knows how this story ends, as if she's looking back on a love that's already over. My theory is that every time she mentions a boy in this, I think they're in the past tense. I think that this is an ex-lover. Heart of the Woods is just a straight up commune to nature, where she recounts a trip to the woods and waxes poetics about human nature and how the woods brings that all out. We're meant to really take care of each other. The strings and productions on this one save it from feeling like filler. It's a gorgeous listen on great speakers, but it definitely lyrically felt like one of the least developed songs off the record. Jade Green is a magical return to the mystic part of this album. There's something about the production and the vocals that does make this feel like an ascension. The opening lines about bathing in the moonlight to recharge, it's a very unique little hymn about Jade Green being this protective charm or element to her. The sweeping production of the songs makes this feel like an epic track lost to the ages. While the lyrics on this one were a bit lacking, I feel like the atmosphere really sells the song. The Architect, however, is one of the best written songs on the record, maybe of her entire career. Musgraves brings back songwriters from her first two albums, Josh Osborne and Sean McAnally, making this a really throwbacky track. There's like a nice feel to that, yet it comes from a wiser place of where she is now. These verses are perfectly crafted, detailing the divine nature of the planet, from its canyons and deserts, and all of the wonder that she feels seeing these things. Kacey asked to speak to the architect behind it all, which she could read as God or nature. She shifts it back to herself and the complex feelings in life that she has, and if she's worthy of love, before tying it up with a bow that she's seen the right face, so all the stars and planets have lined up. But she still closes it out wondering if she has any say, if everything is just random or fate. Finally, she does question if there is an architect out there. I feel like this is a career best from a melodic and songwriting standpoint. Lonely Millionaire is probably the poppiest and most conventional track on this record, despite being a bit downbeat. She laments the conventional story that no one wants to be a lonely millionaire who chose riches over company. There's some really gorgeous production in here and a tactile feel to the track. I felt like the sampling of JID's Cody Blue 31 in the post chorus was a clever touch. I got to actually actually listened to the original track, and I feel like the way she sampled it felt left field, but pretty nice. The final chorus has this really cool synth effect that really tickles the ear. Again, Kacey's music has a really physical quality to it, like the way that she chooses the instrumentation, it's very deliberate. Heaven Is has to be one of the most gorgeous tracks of her entire career. I love the way that it feels like an old Irish lullaby, and the literal heavenly quality of the track. It reads more like poetry, abandoning a traditional chorus structure for 5 different verses divided into different themes and ideas of what heaven could be. There's no story, it's just her theorizing, and I think it's a gorgeous track that will be overlooked by many listeners. Anime Eyes was my favorite on first listen just because of how wonky it is. Kacey's fascination with Eastern culture has always been endearing to me. Her last record had Cherry Blossom, but I felt like this one was a better homage. The way that the song floats in and out and the earnestness of her saying seeing her love is like seeing it through anime eyes is insane to me. The way that she says Miyazaki Skies is really funny because she was in his son's movie. But it's really towards the end that the song works for me. The bridge is her losing her mind as the instrumental kind of follows her over the edge with how she sings. The line, Sailor Moon's got nothing on me, is insane to imagine on an album this grounded and ethereal. The outro really flips it. I like the reveal that her lover has also given her anime eyes too. It's very corny, but it's done so earnestly that I have to give her 10s for it. I was so scared when I saw the title. The album closes on a somber yet hopeful note with Nothing to Be Scared Of, which I had to listen to a couple of times to really get. One can read it as a romantic ode, but I personally read it as an answer to Cardinal's question in the sense that she's singing about returning back to the earth and seeing the other side. The chorus feels like the message from the Cardinal. There's nothing to be scared of when the time inevitably comes for all of us. From a romantic lens, it's more of an answer to Too Good to Be True. The addition of you say in the line, you say I'm the only one you want to give your love in the final chorus. It's a POV switch. Both halves of this equation of this relationship add up to the same conclusion. I have to say that I actually love Deeper Well. While it's not remotely close to the perfect 10 that I would give Golden Hour, it's a charming companion of a record. It feels like a check-in with an older, wiser friend that you've always wanted to catch up with but can never find the time. They'll tell you a wild story or two, but also help you unlock and understand something that you never really thought of before. And you wonder if you'll ever see them again. That's what Deeper Well felt like to me. I think once my personal Saturn return ends, I'll absolutely understand this even more, but for now I'm glad to award this a strong 8.3 out of 10. I cannot wait to see this record live in the fall. If you're in LA and you're going to her show, I might be able to see you there, so let me know. And that's a wrap. Thank you so much for tuning in to my Deeper Well review. I have not been posting as often this week, mainly because I needed to take a break and because of life circumstances that I wish I could tell you guys about. My podcast is going to be back soon. I will be covering the miseducation of Lauryn Hill as the vintage record and then Loose the following week. I'm not sure what the topic's going to be. It might be about the incoming AI ban as well as stuff that happened over the past week. So tune in for that, and thank you so much for watching my video. I hope to see you again sometime soon.